Welcome into Garbage Time Fantasy Football. Not gonna lie, I almost said the old name.
How professional.
All
You mean how
professional
Warner sees it?
with the new sound actually coming through.
When KJ Hamler goes off this season, it's going to be.
Gonna have to rechange the name.
Yeah.
Let's not. We should restart already because that was just a horrible thing ever.
KJ Hamler fantasy football.
AJ
Yep.
Hamler, yeah. Like, let's not start the show with that. I know it's garbage time, but that was just dumpster fire. That's what that was.
Oh God.
All right, you got all four of us again today: Ron, Joe, JJ, and Ryan. How are you boys doing?
I'm doing good. I'm excited for the draft this week.
Oh yeah, just a few short days away.
Very excited for the draft. Need some football, real football stuff happening.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Absolutely. No more speculation.
Yeah,
JJ's
not all
excited
this
for that
smoke.
Mac Jones jersey he's about to get.
I'm not gonna get my hopes up for a first-round quarterback. The more the rumors go, the less confident I am.
Kyle Trask in round 2 to the Bears,
No.
or they'll trade up at the end of round 1 and get him.
Davis Mills.
Oh, I told you it's going to be the Oklahoma lineman. Oklahoma State lineman.
So,
Yeah.
so everyone keep JJ in their thoughts on Thursday night because
Thursday
he's going to be
night.
struggling.
And all next season when they're rolling with Andy Dalton.
You guys are going to end up like 6-11.
Oh, maybe.
That
A really
checks
hard
out.
schedule.
Oh, so what happened this week in the NFL?
Lots happened this week in the NFL. I don't know when this happened, but they are going to be dropping the actual schedule on May 12th. So that's coming up too. We can maybe do a schedule release type show.
I'm excited for that.
Today on the show, we are going to touch on some of the draft news that's been going on. Nothing too much, but we want to just touch on it. And then we are going to get in our top 10 early rankings for quarterbacks and running backs.
Way too early rankings.
Way too early rankings. Roughly 3 months too early.
Well,
Checks out.
all right, let's go.
Let's go. So first off, we have a trade. Kansas City Chiefs and the Baltimore Ravens. Kansas City acquires offensive tackle Orlando Brown. I just had the name, totally lost it for a second, and then got it right back.
Just like the name of your show.
Yep. And a second rounder next year. And Baltimore receives Kansas City's first rounder this year, and then a few other picks thrown in between this year and next year, I believe, right?
Yeah, we'll go
Right.
with that.
Yeah, sounds good. All that
Sounds
really
good.
matters is Baltimore gets Kansas City's first round pick, and Kansas City gets Orlando Brown. That's all that really matters out of all of that at this current moment.
That's the main gist. Yeah.
Right. A lot of talk about San Francisco and who they're going to be taking at 3. I know the GM was like, well, Kyle Shanahan runs the office, so I'm going to let him make the decision. Kyle Shanahan's like, we've liked all the quarterbacks.
There was.
And-
Go ahead.
And you don't move up if you're not going to take a quarterback. And we've liked all the quarterbacks, and they've all impressed us and got better in our minds, including the one we liked. So he said a lot of words to say nothing at all.
It's got to be Matt Jones. Like, I feel like he fits Kyle Shanahan. I think that's who they take.
Wait, is that who I picked in the mock draft or no?
Yeah.
No,
I think
you
you-
pick Lance like me.
Yeah,
Oh.
see, it's definitely going to be Trey Lance.
So,
It's between those two for sure.
so let me explain why I think it's going to be Mac Jones too. There was also another report out today, and this was kind of a little bit late in the day, where they were interviewing Shanahan and the GM, and they were talking about how they don't look at any analysts and they don't look at social media websites on who they should take at quarterback, which kind of infers that they think everyone's going to think they're going to make a bad decision. The only bad decision at 3 here, everyone would think would be Mac Jones. So I really believe they're going to take Mac Jones.
I guess it could be Justin Fields because no one has them taking Justin Fields. I don't think I've seen a single mock draft where they're like, oh, they're taking Justin Fields.
I don't think they
No.
get a lot of shit for that, though.
Well, I think it could be because no one's projecting them to take him. So, I mean, it might not be shit, but it could be like, wow, that was not where we were expecting you to go. Why would you take him over this person? So, honestly, they're a wild card. I have no idea. Watch him not even take a quarterback.
Speaking of Justin Fields, there's still a lot more smoke about him. You want to tell us about that?
I don't know what you're talking about, unless you're talking about the epilepsy.
Well, there's that, but New England trading up for him.
Oh, yeah,
I've heard that.
You didn't phrase that well for me at all. Yeah, I believe I have in our mock draft, I had the Patriots trading up for Justin Fields, if I'm correct.
I think I definitely hit that out of the park for you. I threw a strike and you just missed.
Yeah, that's general,
Yeah, I think Justin
remember.
Fields is looking more and more likely, like going to the Patriots.
I don't have my list anywhere in front of me. No, I didn't have that in my mock draft.
You've got Denver.
I have Denver jumping up to get him. Yeah. So no, that can't happen.
This sure can.
But all this news makes it sound like my mock draft is going to be horribly wrong, and I don't like it.
Dude, honestly, none of us know. Analysts don't know. Nobody
I know.
except in the GM war rooms actually know what's going to happen. That's what's going to make it fun Thursday.
And yeah, because they don't know what other teams are going to be doing outside of the chart or the Jaguars and Jets, most likely. I'm waiting for the Jets to just be like, psych, and take someone completely different.
Like Mac Jones?
Like Mac Jones or Justin Fields, anybody.
That would be hilarious.
I would, and I wanted to say like on the card, psych. Like I want Goodell to have to be like, psych.
I'm 99% sure we're going to take Zach Wilson just because there's tons of smoke here, but people were predicting what we were going to do in free agency before too, and nobody was right. They didn't predict any of the correct players we ended up taking. Yeah. So, I mean, would it shock me if it ended up not being Zach Wilson? No, not really, but that's where all the signs are pointing. And honestly, I've come to fruition with it, and I really want them to take him now.
I saw a couple videos, not of Zach Wilson, it was of Mac Jones on Twitter. Someone shared like his pro day stuff, and he was missing wide open wide receivers. Like they were just wide open.
You talking about the clip with Belichick's hand in his face after the missed pass?
No, I didn't see that. No.
Yeah, there's a picture of him with his hand in his face.
No, there was one where the guy, he was probably only 20 yards downfield or so, just running an in, I believe, and just wildly overthrew him. And these are like, they're at his college where he always played with his wide receiver, so there's not timing issues. Like
he didn't. I mean, Devontae Smith didn't participate in the first one, and the second one he only ran routes on like 4 passes, and then Waddle obviously wasn't there.
It was still wide receivers that were on that team, though.
Yeah, but he doesn't work with them. Most of the evaluation is going to be based off the tape, I'm sure, but I did see that, and that clip of Belichick shaking his head went viral, so that was funny.
I don't know how I didn't see that one then. That's funny. Maybe I just didn't watch it all. Maybe I was just like, oh.
JJ, going back to what you said about Mac Jones, are you inferring that he's not going to be good without a decent set of wide receivers?
No. He just said, you have to have chemistry with your receivers, and some teams have good receivers like Allen Robinson. I mean,
maybe we'll see.
Play that guy.
Had to throw a Bears player in there.
Well, we need a quarterback, man.
All right. Was there any other draft smoke going
on? Not really. Not that I've seen today.
All right. Then we will move on to, what do you want to do first? Quarterbacks or running backs?
Let's do QBs.
QBs it is. All right. Joe, why don't you go ahead and run down your list?
Oh, I see. Get the guy who's the most prepared running down his list first, huh? So you guys can write out your lists?
Yeah. That's exactly what I'm doing.
All right, fine. All right. So here's my top 10 way too early quarterback list for fantasy football. So coming in at number 1, I've got Patrick Mahomes. Reason I've got Patrick Mahomes here is, do I really need to explain? He's got an improved offensive line. He's obviously the best quarterback for fantasy. JJ can attest to that. He won our league. Second, I've got Josh Allen. Last year, he had 37 touchdowns. Nothing's changed really for his offense. I think you're going to see similar stats this year, maybe not as high, but he's done nothing to leave that part of the mantle yet. Next, I've got someone who I see as a quiet dark horse for MVP next year, Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert's stats were 4,336 yards, 31 touchdowns. You got to remember that was over 15 games. So imagine what he's going to do with 2 extra games on top of that this year. Number 4, I've got one of the best passers in the history of the NFL, Aaron Rodgers. Kyler Murray, who I think is going to be a better double threat than Lamar Jackson this year. And number 5. Number 6 is going to be Russell Wilson if they actually let him cook this season, which I don't think they're going to. That's why he slid a little bit down this list. At number 7, I've got Tom Brady. He's going to repeat what he did last year, I think. Number 8, I've got Lamar Jackson sliding into that spot because I think the league is starting to figure him out, and he kind of had cold spells last year, and I think he's going to continue doing that this year. At number 9, I've got Matt Stafford, surprisingly. So I've got Matt Stafford in this spot because I believe Sean McVay's offense with weapons like Deshaun Jackson, Cooper Kupp, and Robert Woods are going to just be absolutely stellar for him. So I think you could actually see increased numbers from his 4,084 passing yards and 26 touchdowns. And then coming in at number 10, I've got Jalen Hurts, simply for the fact that I think he's also a dual threat quarterback. If they don't fix his offensive line, you could see him just being completely off the map here. But I think he's got a lot of potential, and if the Eagles handle him right, he could be a good fantasy QB for your team.
Joe, who was your 7 and 8?
What's up?
Who was 7 and 8 on your list?
So I've got Tom Brady at 7.
Brady, okay.
Yep.
And 8 was
Matt Stafford, then Lamar Jackson at 9.
wow.
What do you got for me?
That is interesting. Who wants to lead on this? You want me to go?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So looking at your list, I definitely am locked in with your top 2. I think Herbert, you may have a little high. I think losing his offensive coordinator and then losing Anthony Lynn could take a minute for him to kind of get into whatever new offense he's going to be in. They'll probably try and keep it pretty similar, but it's just not the same without your OC and head coach. Things are going to be different. So I like Murray and Lamar Jackson a little more than Herbert with their running ability. I think they have a lower floor or a higher floor, I guess you would say.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I definitely could see why you have him up there, but I think he's a little high. You have Rodgers higher than I do, and you definitely have Matt Stafford higher than I do.
So I'm a big proponent of Matt Stafford in this year. I think Sean McVay is going to do absolute wonders with him this offseason. As for Aaron Rodgers, I honestly could see him ascending to number 2 on this list if they actually draft him a decent wide receiver, another target for him to throw to. But that would be cognizant on them actually getting him someone and not drafting a quarterback in the first round like they did last year. Not that they're going to, but they could do something completely out of left field, and that, front office is showing the propensity to do that.
Now, here's the thing on Rodgers, and here's why I have him a little lower than you. So something people forget, they had Bakhtiari, was it rupture his Achilles? Or I can't remember if it was Achilles or ACL. So he's not going to be ready for the start of the season.
Regardless, it was a bad injury.
So Lane Taylor left. He went and signed with the Texans, and they lost their Pro Bowl center, Corey Linsley. So they lost the entire left side of their line. And they did that to re-sign Aaron Jones, which I personally wouldn't have done. You drafted A.J. Dillon in the second round. You probably should have just rolled with him and not paid the running back that much. And you lost Pro Bowl linemen. So I think that's something that is going to be a bit of a factor to start the year for the Packers while they try and figure out the offensive line, because I annually watch the Bears have a terrible, shitty offensive line the first half of the year and then finally get it together when it's too late and they finish
Giants
mediocre.
too. Giants
So-
do the same thing.
So I agree with you there that that's probably going to be their biggest challenge, and I also agree with the fact that I don't think they should have signed Aaron. Was it Aaron Jones?
Yeah.
Yeah, Aaron Jones to a big contract. I would have gone with Corey Linsley and signed their center back to bring back, that is, because A.J. Dillon and then Jamal Williams as a backfield isn't that bad. They've both shown that they can be productive. So them bringing him back was a little bit of a head scratcher, but it shows that they're committed to him, which could play
And
into
they lost Williams too.
Yeah.
Went to the Lions.
Yeah,
should've
but
brought him
I'm
back
pretty
up
sure
for
if they would have let Jones walk, they would have retained Williams because they could have done that a lot cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
All right, JJ, why don't you go ahead and run down your list?
All right. So my top 10, I have Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, just like Joe. 3, I have Kyler Murray. 4, Russell Wilson, which I think is a little too high for him looking at it again. But 5, Lamar Jackson. 6, Aaron Rodgers. 7, Dak Prescott. 8, Justin Herbert. 9, Joe Burrow. And 10, Tom Brady.
Yeah, so
Um,
I was surprised to see Joe not have Dak in his top 10 because I think Dak, I mean, he was on fire last season before his injury. Got a huge payday. I think he's going to want to justify that he's worth that. Dallas is going to want to justify the money they spent on it. So I think Dak could be due for a huge season.
So let me explain that logic because that's also why I didn't have Joe Burrow on this list. My list typically I like to go with safe players who aren't coming off really bad injuries. Joe Burrow is coming off a bad injury, still has a bad offensive line. Dak's going to come back and I think perform very well, but he just would be off my top 10 list just because of his bad injury. I probably wouldn't draft him.
Fair enough.
And this is way too early. So once we
Right.
see in the summertime where he's at.
Yeah,
We'll
having Burrow in my top 10, I don't think I can do that yet.
I wouldn't either.
My big difference between Burrow and Prescott would be Prescott knows the game. Burrow was a rookie last year. He played how many games? Like 8?
Yeah, around a
Yeah.
little over half the season, I think.
Yeah.
I think he was averaging like 17 points a game.
Yeah, he's still kind of a rookie coming in. You know what I mean? Like he only got half his rookie year. Like I think it's going to take him a little bit longer where Prescott already knows the game, already knows the speed, knows his team a little bit better, and has way more weapons.
I simply just couldn't put Joe Burrow in my top 10 because I don't think he's going to make it through the entire season. It's just too much of a risk with that offensive line. They didn't do that much to improve it either. I mean, we still have the draft to go, so we'll see, but I just would not be very confident with Joe Burrow. Maybe as a backup, my quarterback too, but just not as my number one.
Not to mention, Dallas's defense is atrocious.
Yeah.
I mean, Dak Prescott, before his injury, was on a pace to throw for 6,900 yards last season. That was his pace he was playing. Like, just straight wild.
He was going to break NFL records.
Because he had to.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he had to throw every single game back into contention because their defense was just giving up everything.
But here's another thing to consider with Dak Prescott too. I would readjust him on my list if we see that he's healthy though too. But they're probably going to also look to run the ball a little bit more this season just to keep him fresh and to make sure he's not taking hits. They're going to get that ball out of his hand quick, and they're going to use their running game. Don't look for him to get back and throw for 6,000 yards again this season. Well, maybe at a 17-game season, but we'll see.
Right. I'm not projecting him to throw for that many yards, but I'm just saying that's how bad their defense was. That's why I'll run down my QBs because I have Prescott pretty high, actually. I got, same as you guys, Mahomes and Allen, 1 and 2. I'm not as low on Lamar Jackson as you guys.
Of course you're not.
The first half of his season was bad. I will give you that. But it seems like he was trying to do something, be someone he wasn't in the first half. And in the second half of the season, he was right back to where he was the year before, where he was a locked and loaded, 80 rush yards a game, just giving you top tier quarterback fantasy production. If you went in and you traded for Lamar Jackson around week 11 or 12, you were happy with what he gave you the rest of the year. And I think he was playing differently in the beginning of the year. They were trying to make him more of a passer than he really was. They weren't playing as good a football. They weren't running the ball as good at that time. And then kind of honestly around that wild Cleveland Brown type area.
The diarrhea game.
Yeah, game area. Well, that area, because it could have been like before that, it wasn't essentially that game in particular, but like that's where it really started to show that he went back to who he was. And I feel like he's going to come in this year and be more of that. I have Allen in front of him because Allen is a better passer and has the rushing ability. Not quite the upside of rushing ability as Lamar, but his passing upside is substantially higher. Then I got Kyler Murray at 4 because dual threat, decent passer. It's going to get you 600 to 800 yards rushing over the course of the year. Number 5 is where I have Dak Prescott. They didn't do enough in the free agent to fix this defense. They actually lost more pieces. And I mean, they're not going to make enough good draft picks to really change this defense to not have holes in it.
Well, if they draft Kyle Pitts, I'll put him in my top 10.
Yeah, I'd probably put them higher because then they didn't address their defense at all. Like, they need everything. Sean Lee just retired, which is another thing we didn't talk about. Like, he missed a lot of games, but he was one of their better linebackers. They got that other kid in there, but Sean Lee was like the captain of that defensive lineup.
See, it's weird because they have like Leighton Vander Esch, they have Jalen Smith, they have DeMarcus Lawrence Russian, who's a double-digit sack guy. It's like last year. I don't know. They got a couple pieces, but
you just named their pieces though. That's it. They've got those 3 guys.
They desperately need a corner.
They desperately need a corner. They could use some safeties, and they need another rusher opposite of Demarcus Robinson.
If they don't end up trading up for Kyle Pitts, which I really want to happen, look for them to take maybe that Alabama corner.
Yeah.
I think he's a perfect fit there.
Who we got mocked? Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So number 6, I got Herbert. I like the potential. This was straight. I want to see Herbert. I want to straight see what the kid can do in year 2, see what kind of a jump he can take. I believe that he can jump up and be at that spot. I got Rodgers at 7, Brady at 8. Just 2 solid passers. And they're going to get there more. Not so much with like splashy 50-yard runs, but they're going to be consistent. They're not going to give you much for a bad week. Matt Ryan. This is depending on whether Julio actually gets traded or not.
He may not even be the starter after Thursday.
Right. Matt Ryan? Maybe. I mean, there's a lot that could change this come Thursday, but as it stands right now, Matt Ryan will probably sneak into the top 10. And Homer picked Daniel Jones.
Are you serious?
No.
Yeah.
Come on.
There is an avenue. There is an avenue where Daniel Jones could get to top 10.
I was going to joke about you.
Dream.
I was going to joke about you throwing him in the top 10. Like, I was going to jump on you before you did your top 10 pick and say you were going to pick him, and you actually picked him.
Yeah. There's a chance. I mean, he's got the rushing ability. It's not like superstar like some of these other guys. But, I mean, As long as
All
he
right.
stays upright when he takes off and doesn't trip over his own feet.
Here's my prediction. Sam Darnold is going to have a better season than Daniel Jones this year.
Ooh.
Better statistical season than Daniel Jones, and you're going to be drafting a quarterback next year.
I love it.
No, that's actually a really good bet.
That's
Here's
good.
the thing,
That's
though. Here's the thing. I can see both sides. Like, Daniel Jones right now, to me, in the Giants offense as a whole, I guess, is they're either going to be really good or really bad. I don't think there's going to be an in-between.
Sorry, Kyle Shanahan's not running your offense.
I mean, we've shown flashes, and we got Kenny Galladay, and look what getting a top-tier wide receiver did for Josh Allen.
Yeah, well,
Josh Allen went from being the worst passer in 2019 by every metric, completion percentage, accuracy, the worst passer. And then they brought in Stephon Diggs, and he became a top passer in the league, like one of the top two.
Ron, how can you be a top passer in the league if you can't even do a snap on a pass? He fumbles all the time.
Listen.
Mr. Crisco hands over here can't even get a pass off. So how can he become a top 10 passer in this league?
Daniel Jones finished at the end or towards the bottom of all those metrics. He is just, there is just as much chance that he makes that type of jump or a similar jump. Maybe not quite as.
He's not even going to be top 15 this year.
Wow, that's pushing it. He will definitely be top 15.
No way.
You can name 15. There's definitely 15 quarterbacks that are worse than Daniel Jones.
No. All right, we'll go off my top.
You're going to have 5.
We'll go off my top list. You can add probably Ben Roethlisberger to that. I'll take Matt Ryan if you want to put him there. And I'm sure I can find 3 more. Sam Darnold's one of them. So I don't even think Darnold's really top 15, but he's better than him. I can name probably 5 more.
He wasn't even better than him last year.
He doesn't. Yeah, because Adam Gase was in his offense, and he's going to a much better team. He's much more talented than Daniel Jones.
I don't know. Daniel Jones has the rushing upside. Sam Darnold doesn't run.
Oh, he ran last year. Remember that
Well,
Thursday night run?
Well, if he has to, because he's running for his life every single game. Well,
yeah, it's all right. Don't worry. He'll be getting benched for your backup. Who did they end up signing?
It's the name of our group chat.
Yeah. Well, who is it, Ron?
I don't even know. He's not important.
I'll give you a hint.
Mike Glennon.
Yeah. Week 9, you're going to be playing Mike Glennon out there.
No, they won't pull Jones. Even if Jones goes out there and doesn't play well, they're just going to keep letting him not play well so we can get a better pick in the draft.
Oh no, your GM is fighting for his job. He'll be out there starting.
No.
And Judge will not.
The GM will. Devin's going to be out there.
Oh, he'll be putting it in Judge's ear to start him.
Oh. All right, Ryan, go ahead with your top 10. I really hope he has Daniel Jones. That'd be hilarious.
Luckily, I have nothing as controversial as Daniel Jones in the top 10 for mine. So number 1 and 2, just like everybody else, Pat Mahomes, Josh Allen. And then I have
Tom Brady.
Nope. I have Dak Prescott, the highest out of all of us, at number 3. I'm really banking on that monster season that he was starting off with last year. Like you guys have pointed out, no improvements to the defense. I think they're going to have to throw their way into every game. Number 4, I did put Aaron Rodgers. JJ has me questioning that a little bit. But I did put Aaron Rodgers at number 4, especially if Green Bay goes and gets him a weapon in the first round like they were supposed to last year. That could help. 5th, I put Kyler Murray. I had him fall a little bit. Finished 2nd last season. But his stats kind of went off the second half of the year. Averaging like 28 points a game the first 7 weeks, and then went down to 20 points a game after that. I still think he performs well, but I don't think he's going to be at the number 2. So I put him at number 5. put Russell Wilson at number 6, which is right where he finished last year. I think DK is only going to get better. They signed Tyler Lockett to an extension. I think Russell Wilson's going to be a good bet. Number 7, Justin Herbert, finished 9th last year with 15 games. Probably if he started all 16, he probably could have finished 7th or 8th. So in his 7th season, yeah, I think he'd be better. Number 8, Tom Brady. It's right where he finished last year. They signed the whole team back, so why not keep him in the same place? Number 9, Lamar Jackson. We're kind of all hating on him.
Except Ron.
Yeah, but
In my top 5.
I just think teams have got him figured out. I think he gets frustrated, and I think it's been hurting his stats. Then number 10, I put Jalen Hurts. Didn't really come into the fantasy picture till the end of the season, but here's those last 4 games where he was actually playing. He was averaging 23 points per game. So if you extend that over a season, that puts him right in the top 5. So I think top 10 is not much of a stretch.
I like your pick with Jalen Hurts because, as an example, and it was a very small sample size, as you pointed out, that Saints game he played was absolutely incredible. It just shows the potential of what he can do. The Eagles just have to handle him right.
Yep.
And then he got benched against the Washington football team.
And that's because the Eagles hate the Giants and didn't want you guys to go to the playoffs.
That's because he was playing like garbage that game.
Ron, it ended up to the head coach and ended up getting fired as a result of that game.
Because he.
You have Daniel Jones at number 10.
Yeah.
I will lock in Daniel Jones finishes with a higher fantasy output than Jalen Hurts.
You know what we need a return of?
What?
We need a return of the timeout for that. So you're done for a minute.
You need to cool down.
Yeah. Chill out. All right, JJ, you want to say what we're doing next then?
Yeah, I guess we transition into running backs. Real quick, while we touch on this Daniel Jones stuff, Ron's talking top 15. I just want to list a couple quarterbacks, and I want Ryan and Joe to tell me whether you'd rather have him than Daniel Jones.
Yes. And you're in timeout the whole time.
All right. Ryan Tannehill.
Yes.
Yep.
Wasn't on any of our lists. I'd take him too.
Top 10 last year too.
Yep.
He was. Matt Ryan.
Definitely.
He's only in Ron's list, but I would take him. What about Ben Roethlisberger?
Yep.
Probably.
Elbow?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's close to me. Cam Newton?
No.
No. Carson Wentz?
Definitely. Ron's shaking his head, but let me say something about Carson Wentz. I pointed out last year how statistically he was doing great for fantasy last year. Didn't finish the year well, but up until 3/4 of the season, his team wasn't winning, but he was still doing pretty well for fantasy, where he was a borderline number 1.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see him with an actual line and an established run game. So, Kirk Cousins. I would rather have Cousins than Jones.
Yes, he's got a good receiving core.
They have a similar skill set, though. Baker Mayfield.
Lukewarm, yes.
I would say yes. I would rather have Jameis Winston, personally, with the offense.
Maybe.
If Jameis Winston is a starter for all the Saints games, he'll have better numbers than Daniel Jones. Garoppolo.
Yes.
Okay. So
5 minutes over. He's not even starting. He's not even started the whole year.
So how many quarterbacks was that, JJ, that we just went through?
6 or 7.
You didn't even say Sam Darnold.
I didn't say Darnold. I think they're close. I don't know. I got to see them both one more year. And Jones, really, he could take off and pass all those guys in year 3. But
would you take Trevor Lawrence over him?
Yeah.
I would too.
I think Ron would too.
I don't trust rookie quarterbacks.
So Ron, he's looking like 20 right now.
There's been too many rookie quarterbacks that have been so highly touted that have come out and
well, let's just not talk about that. That gets emotional for me. That's a good transition.
First year was actually pretty good, wasn't it?
What's that?
Wasn't Trubisky's first year actually pretty good?
It was.
No.
His
No,
second
he
year.
threw
His
7
second.
touchdowns and 7 interceptions because they let him throw like 8 times a game.
Oh, so it was the second year.
The second year is when he was in the Pro Bowl.
I remember he had one really good year. All right, let's move on to running backs. I'm sure there's more in here that we can yell at each other about. JJ, go ahead and do yours first.
All right, so number 1, I think this will probably be a consensus as well, but Christian McCaffrey. 2, Delvin Cook. 3, Alvin Kamara. 4, Nick Chubb. 5, Saquon Barkley. 6, I probably have him higher than anyone, Cam Akers. 7, Jonathan Taylor. 8, Derrick Henry. 9, Joe Mixon. And 10, Montgomery. Roast me.
Roast me. I will say you're probably going by Montgomery's end of the year stats where he was torching everybody, but all the teams he were playing were bottom 5 run defenses. So it kind of has to see. I think not all, because I think he is talented, but I think a lot of it has to do with he got the right matchups right at the end of the year. And it
was good matchups.
Yeah.
But kind of like we talked about before too, they finally put a line out there that they were able to run the ball with. So
not to mention Tariq Cohen is coming back and he's going to steal all the passing.
That's true. And he was ranked higher at the end of the fantasy season. That's why I put him down to 10.
I don't hate it, but I don't see it being quite top 10. That's all.
I could see him being 5 if they're smart and give him 20 touches a game, or I could see him be like in the 20s because they give Damian Williams like 7 carries a game.
Yeah, I'm just worried about his usage is all.
Yeah.
So let me give you kudos on one selection you have here and burn you a little bit on 2 of them.
Okay.
David Montgomery at number 10 was a fantastic pick, and I actually don't have him on my list. The reason is because you guys are going to be relying very heavily on him because Andy Dalton is more of a game manager, I think. So David Montgomery is going to be getting a lot of touches. Derrick Henry, I think you have a little bit too low just on his consistency every single year. And I honestly have no idea why you have Jonathan Taylor up that high because he might not even start in his backfield. He's very hot and cold. At the end of the season, he was coming on, but if they figure him out, he may not even be the starter in his own backfield to be more running back by committee.
Okay, so the reason I put Henry way down, so 2 years in a row, he led the NFL in rushing. That is very, very difficult to do. So I don't think he's going to get a 3rd year in a row. He'll get hurt. Something will happen. Additionally, they lost Corey Davis. So, boxes already were loaded, but now all they have really is A.J. Brown. They lost Jonnu Smith. So they lost some of their weapons.
Good blocking. Wide receiver.
And they also lost their OC, Arthur Smith, who really set that up and helped Tannehill and Henry go off. So he's in it with Atlanta now. So I think factoring all those things in, I don't think he can hit 2,000 yards again. And he also doesn't catch any passes. So that's why I got him at 8. And then as far as Taylor, you really saw the Colts figure out how to use him, and he was getting serious volume at the end of the year. Marlon Mack doesn't really scare me. He'll probably be on the field for 5 to 7 carries a game, maybe. I just don't think he's talented enough to take Taylor's spot. I think Taylor's going to get 20 to 25 touches a game and finish top 10.
Yeah, but I would argue that there wasn't very talented running backs in the Colts backfield last year, and they still went to them. So,
Hines is a good pass catcher.
Yeah, but they still would use running backs on early downs too. I'm not saying there's definitely the potential for him to be top 10, and I think he's immensely talented.
If you look at it, though, after their bye week is when they really started turning to Jonathan Taylor, and those other running backs weren't getting the carries that they were in the beginning of the year. They really waited until after the bye week, and then they decided to turn Jonathan Taylor loose. And those other running backs weren't getting as many carries at that point.
What was the name of the running back that the Colts drafted a few years back and he was a bust? They traded him to Cleveland. His name's escaping me. It just reminds me.
Are you mixing up the trade and it was Trent Richardson who went from the Browns to the Colts?
Yeah, you're right. I am doing that, but it just kind of reminds me of a similar situation. I don't know if they know how to handle backfields very well, and I understand it's a new regime. It just I could see that situation playing out completely again, where Trent Richardson wasn't very good backfield.
Well, Trent Richardson was like lazy and way slower than Taylor. I think Taylor's way more talented than Richardson was, but
okay, I see Taylor more as a running back too this season. I don't trust him yet.
All right, Joe, why don't you jump right into your top 10?
Okay.
Ryan, feel free to jump in here at any time.
Okay.
Well, I was too busy looking up something quickly about Jalen Hurts that you brought up, but we can talk about that later.
You're not getting away with this, Ryan.
All right, so starting in my top 10, I've actually got Delvin Cook here. It's off a little bit of bias from last year, but I think that offense is going to continue to run around him. No team seemed to figure him out during the season, and he was insanely consistent. He finally learned how to stay healthy last season. I hope that continues here. I'm going to go with Derrick Henry in this spot. And that's going to shock JJ, and he's giving me the look already. Yes, I understand he lost his OC, and he's losing a lot of weapons on offense. But he has shown that he can carry a team by himself, and he did throughout the playoffs against Baltimore a few years ago. He is a one-man wrecking crew, and there's a reason he's the Yeti. They are going to rely on him. They are going to go to him heavy. If there's any running back in the league that can carry a team, it's Derrick Henry, and I think he's going to stay healthy for at least another year.
He also gets an insane number of carries, like 378 carries last season.
And you should think about that when doing your rankings, because 2 years of that abuse, how long can he keep it up, man?
We just need one more year for these rankings to be accurate.
Number 3, I have Alvin Kamara here for a similar reason. Sheer volume. They're going to a new quarterback this year, so they're heavily going to rely on him. Number 4 here, I have Nick Chubb because the Browns finally learned how to use him last year. Saquon Barkley at number 5, coming back from injury. He was projected at 240.7 points in fantasy last year. So, the Giants are going to consistently have to go to him, especially having such a crappy quarterback. Number 6, I've got Christian McCaffrey, simply off injury. He could take the mantle back of number 1, but like I said, I rank my running backs based on injury potential and how much they are on the field. He wasn't on the field a lot last year, so I'm just a little hesitant with him. I've got Aaron Jones because the Green Bay Packers re-upped him here, so they're showing a commitment to him. I understand that they have A.J. Dillon as a change of pace back, but I think he is more talented than A.J. Dillon. So I look for Aaron Jones to have another good year. James Robinson at number 8. Number 9, my dark horse, J.K. Dobbins. I was a big fan of him last year, and I told you going into this season, I think he's going to take over the job there in Baltimore, and it's going from a 3-headed monster to a 2-headed monster, and that offense can sustain 2 running backs. And number 10, the sneaky but often injured Miles Sanders, who's coming back from injury. But same thing here. They have a young quarterback in that offense, and they're going to heavily rely on him. If he stays healthy, he could have a good year.
Ron, what do you think of this list?
Everyone's going to give me crap about throwing Daniel Jones in the top 10, but no one's going to say anything about CMC being at 5.
Throw my head back and pop my eyes.
I understand the injury thing, but when he was on the field, he was outscoring Delvin Cook. In those 3 games he played, he had a better per game average than Delvin Cook.
Well, let me say this, though. He has to stay on the field, and last year he couldn't. He's still coming back from a bad injury.
Okay, Delvin Cook couldn't 2 years ago and 3 years ago. Delvin Cook has a longer history of being injured than Christian McCaffrey does.
Hold on. Let me get into this with you again. This is way too early.
Weird.
Yeah. All right. Way too early projections. We are looking at what they are doing without injuries right now. We haven't gotten a look at him. I might update this later, but based on what happened last year, this is where I've got the rankings right now. If he's burning it up in training camp, he'll go right up that list.
What you just said is kind of redundant. You said you're not looking at injuries, but you have him slid down because of injury.
I'm looking at running backs that aren't injured to top them. He was injured last year. Yeah, so yeah, it's a little redundant, but you get my point.
Hit the clown music. Oh, you can't share it.
Doesn't knock him through. Let's see.
Anyway.
Can you hear it or no?
No.
All
So I'm
right.
sharing my screen.
I just wanted to see. All right, I'll get into my top 10. Other than that, Robinson, Dobbins, and Sanders, I could definitely see how they could get there. I just don't have them in my top 10. They'd probably be just outside. My number one is the true number one, which is CMC. Regardless of injury, like I said, the 3 games he played last year, he outscored everybody. I think he was the running back 1, the RB1 2 of those times, and then RB3 the other time. He's just going to get all of the work every single down. He's the first, second, and third read. And if Sam Darnold is to do anything this year, it's going to be through Christian McCaffrey.
That's right.
So, number 2, I have Delvin Cook. There's no denying he's a very talented guy. Like, we've seen what he did last year, and he deserves to be there. Number 3, I got Barkley coming back from injury. Much like CMC and Delvin Cook, I think the offense is going to move through him, not any other way. You know, if they're going to have a successful season, it's most likely going to be through Saquon Barkley. Number 4, I have Derrick Henry, because yes, he's had a lot of carries the last 2 years and rushed for a lot of yards, but the man is just built different. Like, the size he is and how fast he can run aren't supposed to go together. Like, you're not supposed to be that big and that fast. And he's a train, and I don't see anything derailing it. But he doesn't get the passing work, so he slides down the list a little bit. Number 5, Austin Eckler, who I think a lot of people forget about because he was injured for half the year. But when he came back, he was right back to where he was. He's more of a wide receiver than a running back. And Justin Herbert, as soon as he came back into the game, Justin Herbert utilized him. It was like they were meant to do it.
Lombardi's high on him too.
PPR, he's going to be a monster because he's going to catch. He's going to probably be right behind CMC and most likely Delvin Cook on catches. And it's going to be ridiculous how many catches those running backs get. Number 6, I got Alvin Kamara. I'm nervous about Kamara because Taysom Hill is going to run the ball and steal goal line stuff. And if it's Jameis Winston, he doesn't check the ball down. He's just going to chuck the thing downfield. So I'm a little worried about Kamara. He could very easily finish top 3 because he has that skill set and he still is that dual weapon. But I'm a little nervous because I don't know who the quarterback's going to be for one or how this offense is going to look. Number 7, I have Aaron Jones. They lost pieces of the offensive line. Scares me a little bit. He always has high touchdowns, which I don't think he's going to be able to repeat over and over again. Plus, I think they might give A.J. Dillon more goal line work rather than giving him the goal line work. Number 8, I have Ezekiel Elliott. When Dak Prescott is on the field, Ezekiel Elliott is a monster. But I think Tony Pollard gets the passing work, so it slides him down the list. Number 9, Nick Chubb. He's another person that would be higher, but Kareem Hunt is still there, and I think that caps his upside. Number 10, I got Jonathan Taylor. I think Indianapolis leans on the running game I think they saw what happened with Wentz last year, and they don't want him having to throw the ball that much and trying to put this team on his back because they don't have many good wide receivers right now. So unless they really get something in the draft, which I don't think they're picking somewhere where they're really going to get a super good one, I think they lean heavy on the run game, and Wentz will be more efficient rather than volume, if that makes sense. Joe, you turned your nose up at Nick Chubb.
Yeah, Nick Chubb is way too low on your list.
I don't like it. I'm not going to lie. But having Kareem Hunt there, I couldn't do it. Most of these other guys that I have ahead of him don't have that second person that is that good that's going to be stealing work. You know how good Kareem Hunt was, Joe. You had him all last year.
Yeah, but that was while Nick Chubb was out, though. Kareem Hunt came when Chubb came back. Kareem Hunt kind of went back to his secondary role, and Cleveland's also kind of an offense that can sustain two weapons. After that, Kareem Hunt kind of went back to the running back 2 role.
No, I 100% agree, but I mean, there was weeks even when Nick Chubb was there, you were getting points.
Yeah, at the beginning of the year, it was awesome.
So I think it doesn't take away from Nick Chubb's talent or that he's going to be a good running back 1. I just think it caps his upside.
I really don't think so, because you kind of saw that revelation late in the season. When he came back, they really realized what they had in Nick Chubb. He is a whole level above even Kareem Hunt, who is an incredible running back.
I'd have to see how many carries they were giving Kareem Hunt, carries and catches and all that at the end of the year, and have to look at like if they were lining Kareem Hunt up in like the slot with these catches.
They were treating him like a slot receiver later in the year.
Right. I'd have to look at that and kind of see how they're going to go. But as of right now, I can't push him that high up. All right, Ryan, why don't you go ahead with yours?
All right. So let's see. Number 1, Christian McCaffrey. We pretty much have covered that pretty in depth. Number 2, Delvin Cook. Also covered that pretty in depth. Number 3, I put Alvin Kamara. I think the quarterback situation is a little concerning. I'm being a little optimistic because I have Kamara on several fantasy teams as my keeper. I'm hoping that with a quarterback, he might be kind of the security blanket that they check down to. But that's kind of to be seen. I put Derrick Henry at number 4. Just the crazy number of carries he gets. Like I said earlier, the 378 last season. I know he will get burned out eventually, but he's at 27. I just hope it's not this year. Number 5, I put Jonathan Taylor.
Wow.
That might be the highest out of all of us. But towards the end of the season, he really turned it on. From weeks 11 to 17, he was averaging 24 points per game in PPR leagues. So I mean those are like top 5 running back numbers. So if he maintains that, I could see it. Number 6, I put Zeke. Finished 9th last season. With Dak coming back, I think it revamps the offense. They're gonna have to watch for the pass and the run now. Other defenses, so I think it's gonna improve his numbers. Number 7, Nick Chubb. Like Ron said, Hunt does cut into it, but Chubb still finished 11th in rankings last season. That's with missing 4 games.
Yep.
Number 8, I did Aaron Jones. Green Bay re-signed him to a pretty big contract. They don't want to use him. Number 9, I put Austin Eckler. Joe Lombardi's been comparing him to like Kamara, Reggie Bush, Darren Sproles. So that gives you kind of an idea of how Joe Lombardi wants to use him, which is a good thing for Eckler managers and PPR leads. Number 10, a lot lower than what you guys all had. I put Saquon. Coming off an injury, I'm a little nervous. And maybe I'm not remembering it correctly, but I feel like he didn't do too good like the few games he played. It looked like the Giants didn't have any run offense at all. I know they kind of got it together towards the end of the season, but just that had me a little bit nervous. So I put him down at 10, but it could definitely be a big payoff for someone that takes the gamble on him.
I'm pretty sure Barkley only played 2 or 3 games. One full
Yeah.
game?
One game, and then he got hurt week 2 against the Bears.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
okay.
the one
It
game
was
he
that
played
short.
was against the Steelers.
Oh, okay.
No running back did good. Miles Sanders had a good game because he somehow broke off an 80-yard touchdown run. But other than that, he had like 20 more yards the rest of that game.
Yeah, I think it was like less than that. It was like
Yeah.
he had like 19 carries for like 14 yards.
Yeah,
besides that
fantasy
one
managers
run.
were happy because I think he actually just got like 90 yards and a touchdown, but 80 of those yards came off of one carry. So
Yeah. So
Saquon will be fine.
Saquon should probably be higher on my list. I actually didn't realize it was just one game, but yeah. So he should probably be a little bit higher. But other than that,
Something interesting that I've seen across all of our rankings too, we all have very compelling different opinions on Dallas's running back there, Zeke Elliott. I don't even have him in my top 10.
I don't either. He's probably 11 or 12 for me. I don't know. He got paid, and last year I had him in our league and in my 16-man league. I had a lot of shares of him, and he just looked lazy. Like he didn't care if he was there or not. I don't like that. I like players that want to be there and play hard every week.
Yeah, I honestly think they're going to get Tony Pollard involved a lot more this season because he catches the ball out of the backfield too, which Zeke doesn't do that much.
To be fair, you go from Dak Prescott to Andy Dalton and then Ben DiNucci. How hard's you gonna try?
Hopefully teams with Andy Dalton as their QB play hard this year.
Or you draft someone.
and it looks like
God.
The first 5 weeks where Prescott
It all comes
was there
full
with
circle.
Zeke was like a top 5 running back those 5 weeks. I think what you saw was just this whole offense crumbled without Dak.
Bummer.
Andy Dalton or Daniel Jones?
Daniel Jones.
Can I not pick either? Oh God! If I end up in that situation,
I will accept that answer, Joe.
If I have to do that this year, I'm gonna end up with a toilet bowl trophy. Like, oh, that would be horrible.
Oh boy! So those are our lists. You know,
Yes,
they're
sir.
not as close as I thought they were gonna be.
No, there's a lot of parity here.
Yeah.
yeah,
which
like
is nice.
JJ's got Cam Akers. I don't think he's in any of our other lists.
No,
I am excited for Cam Akers.
Yeah, he
I
had
would
some.
probably
He had
have
some
him
big
at 11
games.
or 12.
I think you
honestly.
guys are really discounting J.K. Dobbins, though. Like, I think
No,
I
he's-
love
I like
Dobbins,
J.K.
but-
Dobbins too, but again, I think he's just outside of it.
That Ravens
tough.
backfield.
When your quarterback is a running back one. So
very
Yeah,
true.
I mean that's 1,000 rushing yards on the team right there.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, they rush for 4,000 yards a year, but
If you notice when I said a running back by committee team, I said it can support 2 running backs. I actually did. I mentioned that because I was talking about their quarterback.
I feel you.
all right. Are we gonna post this list up on our Instagram, Joe?
Yeah, definitely. We're gonna post this up on our Instagram. I think Ryan wanted to talk about Philly's
Ryan wanted to talk
quarterback
about
really
Jalen
quick,
Hurts
right?
a little bit.
Oh yeah. So I just wanted to bring up one point. So Ron was hating on Jalen Hurts for that last game of the season because he did really sucky. That last game of the season, Jalen Hurts still had 17 fantasy points in that game. Daniel Jones only had 4 games all season where he scored higher than 17 fantasy points.
So fake news.
I like Jalen Hurts. No. Don't get me wrong. I think he will be in the top 15. I really do.
It all depends on that
But-
offensive line.
He's not. Here's kind of how I compare Jalen Hurts. He's a similar player to Lamar Jackson. He's not going to throw the ball a lot. That's what they're going to try to do. The difference is the Eagles are not set up for that right now. The Eagles do not have the offensive line that the Ravens have. The Eagles do not have the tight ends that the Ravens have. the Eagles do not have wide receivers, like in general.
No, the true difference here is Jalen Hurts can actually pass the ball.
What was his passing numbers for that last game, Ryan?
Oh, I don't know.
I believe it was something like 4 for 14.
Let me say something. They were giving him a vanilla offense because they were trying to lose. The head coach got fired over the game. There was an issue here.
I think the head coach could have got fired anyways, even if they won the game. It's not like they would have made the playoffs if they won the game.
It's a mirage. Ignore that part and take the other 3 games as the example as to what he's going to do next season.
I think only one game he actually had good passing numbers.
Okay, and how many games a year does Lamar Jackson have good passing numbers?
But again, that's where it comes to I compared them, said they were similar, but the Ravens offense is set up better for that type of offense.
So
you got the numbers, Ryan?
Yeah, that last game. So yeah, Jalen went 7 completions on 20 attempts, a solid 25.4 QBR, but still 17 fantasy points. As far as QBR, depending on how much faith you put in QBR, had over 100 in one game, and then 70 in another, and 83 in another. And that's pretty much his 4 starts right there.
How many passes did he actually throw in those games? I know the one where he had the 101, he had something like 5 or 6 touchdowns in that game.
Against New Orleans, he went 17 completions on 30 attempts. Against Arizona, 24 completions on 44 attempts. And then against Dallas, 21 completions on 39 attempts.
So roughly 50%.
His yearly completion percentage is 52%. I think that's what everyone's kind of worried about is his accuracy.
Yeah.
So,
and that's what I'm saying.
No receivers, yeah.
And he doesn't have the receivers to help him. The offensive line isn't that great in Philly. 3 years from now, when they build around Jalen Hurts, I think he could be a top 5 fantasy quarterback. But as of right now, I don't think that team is set up. The Giants' offensive line is better right now. The Giants have more weapons.
Are you really trying to angle this back into Daniel Jones?
No, I'm just saying, like, you guys are giving me crap about putting Daniel Jones at 10, and you got Jalen Hurts, although I feel like Daniel Jones right now has a better team around him and is more capable of putting in a top 10 fantasy output this year than Jalen Hurts, strictly because of team alone.
Question. So let's say the Eagles this draft, they go out and get Jalen Waddle or Devontae Smith or something like that. Does that change your opinion on Jalen Hurts' performance this season?
It would increase it a little bit, yeah. I think it might actually increase it more if they did some offensive line help.
Okay.
They need both. I think they can get a wide receiver in the second round that would help them. If they went offensive line in the first round, it would help more because then they could run more of the offense like the Ravens, which would open up Miles Sanders. It would open up Jalen Hurts.
Luckily, this draft is very deep at interior offensive lineman and wide receiver.
Right. So they could do some things where it would look good. But as it sits right now, I think the Giants have the more complete team. And their defense is better, so they're not going to have to worry about, chucking the ball every time, worried about throwing interceptions, which we all know Daniel Jones loves to do.
Yeah, I think that plays into Hurts more. I think I talked about this before. I can't even remember. But the Eagles' defense is absolute garbage.
Yeah.
And
so he's going to have to throw more, and we already know he can't throw very well. 50% accuracy. Like,
you better learn.
With no receivers.
I would rather have.
And Daniel Jones is getting Saquon Barkley back.
It's
not hard to go, you do this.
I would still rather have Jalen Hurts, a decent offensive line, and a bunch of Joes over Daniel Jones and all-stars. But we will see.
We're going to have to do like a weekly Daniel Jones update during the season.
Daniel Jones
Like,
versus
we're not
Jalen
gonna
Hurts
anyways.
update.
We'll do Daniel Jones. We'll have Andy Dalton. We'll have whatever
No,
schlub the Jets pick
so-
at number 2.
so it'll be Sam Darnold, Daniel Jones. Well, I mean, we have to throw Andy Dalton up there.
Yeah,
Someone Ryan picks.
the new Patriots quarterback, Justin Fields.
Yeah,
We'll call it,
probably at number 15.
yeah, we'll call it the mediocre. We'll call it the mediocre fantasy quarterback board.
Mediocre? Is that
We'll
a
throw
word?
Zach Wilson in there too.
Mediocre.
Mediocre. That's a great word, Joe.
My upstate showing.
Gonna have an internal quarterback competition of Jalen Hurts versus Daniel Jones. A weekly update.
I love it.
Watch them both get injured week 1, and we just don't know. Oh, this is for naught. They both like tear their ACLs week 1, and we're just like, well, that segment's over.
Solves that.
No, then we're like, Daniel Jones is recovering faster. No, Hurts is recovering faster.
I saw him running sprints on Instagram.
All right. Remember to find us on Instagram at Garbage Time Fantasy Football. Leave us messages. Joe's updating it all the time. It looks fabulous over there.
And YouTube as well.
YouTube
Yes,
as
sir.
well. Yep. We're everywhere. Go like us, follow us, download the podcast anywhere you get your podcast. Probably the place you're listening to it right now, most likely. But go to the other ones and download those too. It'll help us.
Simplecast. Google.
Go to our YouTube. Give us comments. Give us feedback.
Yeah,
shit to us.
definitely.
Okay.
Definitely on the YouTube. Give us feedback.
Subscribe.
Like someone said our audio was horrible. We
Subscribe,
knew
yeah.
that.
Yeah. Thank you
We
for that.
fixed it. Everything's good now.
But talk shit. We like shit too. So
Yeah. We want to hear it. But also, if you have any actual fantasy football questions, you can ask those and we'll answer them on the show.
but mostly send shit.
But mostly shit. Not pictures of shit, though, because I don't want to see that.
Garbage. Just send a lot of garbage.
Just send a lot of garbage. To Ryan's home address at.
All right, let's
All
get
right,
out
you
of
guys
here.
ready to get out of here?
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know if I'm sharing at the moment. Hold on 1 second.
Is he actually going to be able to cue it tonight?
Well, JJ messed everything up because he started sharing.
Oh, I see how
I'm
it
not
is.
sure if I was still sharing, and I don't think I am, but now I am. So